Hello Rebels, and welcome back to my life. Before we get started, I want to say that my voice is not the most important voice in this conversation, like at all. I believe that being a good ally in working against injustice means amplifying the voices of those who suffer that injustice rather than speaking for them. So I have put links in the description of this video to people that I think you should be following on Twitter. They are people I follow, I learn from them every day, and they talk about this topic all the time. So go give them a follow and just listen to what they have to say, okay? That being said, I know from making these videos before and tracking my links that a lot of people, especially those who disagree with the message, are not going to click through and follow those people. So I am going to say my piece about it. So here we go. Hashtag Oscars so white. What's the big deal? So for the second year in a row, no people of color have been nominated for an Academy Award in the writing, acting, or directing categories. This despite several notable achievements in film by people of color, which you could really easily argue were worthy of recognition. Idris Elba, for example, is one that everybody's talking about, and if you saw him acting in Beasts of No Nation, you could easily go, yeah, that could maybe have gotten a nomination. And meanwhile, in some films that you could say were like led by black people, there have been nominations for white people. Like the two white screenwriters of Straight Outta Compton were nominated for their screenplay, and Sylvester Stallone got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for the movie Creed. Okay, so maybe the problem is that Idris Elba or Michael B. Jordan could have been nominated, but there's only 5 acting slots, so there wasn't enough space. I mean, I'd have to disagree. I think either one of them could have taken it over Matt Damon. I mean, I love the guy, I just don't think The Martian was that challenging of a movie. But the problem is a bit more blatant on the Best Picture category. We actually have to break it down just to explain it, because it's kind of bizarre. So there's 10 slots in the Best Picture category, right? More than any other category. But this year, only 8 films were nominated. There were 2 slots that just weren't filled. Now, if a film got nominated for Best Screenplay, like Straight Outta Compton, or Best Supporting Actor, like Creed, or Best Cinematography, like Sicario, isn't there something good and worthy and notable about that film that means that it could just maybe be used to fill those gaping holes phrasing? Okay, but like, you know, in the big picture, what does any of this really matter? They're just the Oscars. They're an awards show. They only matter to people who like watching award shows. Yeah, so it turns out that a lot of the people who like watching award shows are people with gigantic bank accounts who actually like pay for movies to be made. So if a film wins an Oscar, it just immediately makes more money because people are willing to pay more to distribute it or to show it in their theaters. So people who think this is trivial either don't care about award shows at all and are only speaking from their own experience, they're ignorant of the film industry or at least the Hollywood industry in general, or they know what's going on but they are, you know, like misrepresenting it. But interestingly, a lot of those people who are saying how unimportant this all is have gotten super duper mega pissed at the Academy's reaction to this whole like controversy. The Academy observed, correctly in my opinion, that one of their problems in recognizing more diverse filmmaking is that the Academy is dominated by a bunch of old white dudes. And so they changed the rules for admission and continued membership in the Academy in a way that will basically kick out anybody who hasn't made a film in more than 10 years. There are some exceptions, of course. If you were an active filmmaker for 30 years before your 10-year break between, you know, like when you stopped making films and now, you're all good. If you've ever been nominated or won an Oscar, then you're good. You have a lifetime membership. But the same people who were trying to convince us that the lack of diversity in the Oscars didn't matter because it's all so trivial are now really upset that old, inactive filmmakers are basically being kicked out of the Academy. My viewpoint is, if you're not currently actively making films in today's industry, then no, you should not be allowed to vote on which films coming out of the industry today are the best ones. And more importantly, this is a statement by the Academy. They are saying that we want to represent people who are in the industry now, who know what it's like, who know what's going on, who are like up to date with the modern world and modern filmmaking. So in the end, what's the big deal about Oscars so white? To be honest, it's probably a bigger deal than it should be. But saying it shouldn't be this big a deal doesn't negate the fact that for so many people working in the film industry, it is a big deal. Some people think that diversity isn't a problem in the film and television industry, and those people are just like plainly and demonstrably wrong, like with facts. Either they're wrong because they're not in the film industry at all, in which case like, oh my god, why are you expressing your opinions on this? I don't. Or they're wrong because they are in the film industry, but they don't personally suffer from discrimination and exclusion. Trust me, if you suffer from it, you know it happens. And if you don't suffer from it, you don't actually have to look very hard to see it. Films will probably continue to get more diverse and more inclusive, but that will only happen if people in the film industry keep working at it. If you just leave it to its own devices, it does not change, it will not course correct itself. And we know this is true because we've seen what the film industry has been doing for the last 100+ years. That's it for today, Rebels. I want to give a shout out to my supporters on Patreon who make my YouTube channel possible. If you want to be one of them, or if you want to pick up signed copies of my books, there are links in the description to both of those things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!